What up, my good peoples? Back at it again on the Talking Ball Pod with my boy L Train. We
Yes,
had
sir.
a nice week of college football. We had that nice explosive argument of rankings to end last week's show.
I
Which
don't think it was an argument. It was a one-sided.
a great debate.
I couldn't get in my thought, and then you post on Facebook like
Yeah, I
making me
mean,
look crazy that
what's
I
funny is
couldn't get my thought out.
really what that was Joe was like, you just gotta clip that and just put fuck Texas right off the rip.
Oh,
Just
for
do
sure.
it. And, just to be like, if I should have posted it all over like YouTube and other social
Yeah,
medias, whatever.
even though I have the receipts of you picking Texas in your pool with both of your slots.
I even said in that argument that's why I was picking Texas. I was like, I totally went against it, because it was just that
in that
good.
moment, just because of our back and forth.
Here's the great debate now. Does a 10-2 Alabama get it?
Hold that. We'll get to that because I'm going to finish my thought on that what I was trying to make last week. So
yeah,
I'll give you my thoughts on that when we talk about the Alabama-Tennessee game.
Where's Georgia in your ranking now?
I still got Georgia in my I got them number. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, we don't have to do rankings today, really, because
no. I'm going to give you mine later. I'm going to be consistent, Mister. Okay. I'm just going to use the AP.
Hey, the AP looked right after I looked at it, but
I don't agree with it, but that's fine. There's a bunch of SIDs and reporters.
Like we said before, too, with rankings. the whole ranking situation when it comes to college football. It's at the beginning of the year, it's all for just matchup purposes for TV. It's like
100%, like Michigan and Florida State.
It makes it look sexy as well. Not even the favoritism. What I'm saying is it makes it look sexy for the TV. So you see this
for sure, 100%.
1 versus 5 going against blah blah instead of
if you got
no numbers by it.
And that was the point I was trying to make last week with the rankings. Is like if people had sat down and really watched college football this season, you throw all of that out and you rank how it should be. But we'll get to that since we're on a timing issue.
Yeah, I gotta get Cruz dude today. I gotta be daddy daycare. So
that's more important than.
And then you got freaking out of town travels coming up and all that. So we got to cram it in here and get it in where you can fit in. So like I said, we'll hop right into we'll go in order. Let's go ahead and talk about this one. Just get it out of the way. Like Friday night,
dude, that was worse.
Can the Noles get a win?
What was worse, the Thursday night game, the Broncos Saints game, or this game?
Yeah,
they both were pretty bad.
Yeah, the NFL game was pretty bad on Thursday night between Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler. But no, the Noles, man, can't get out of their own way.
I think people are seeing it's not just DJ.
Of course, like again, and this is the thing. They've got too many black eyes and too many problems everywhere across the board on that team. It goes from, the offensive line not being able to block, the offensive line not being able to protect, not being able to run the ball, not being able to catch the ball as a wide receiver, not being able to stop the run, not being able to rush the passer. They got a litany of problems. It's like across the board. And it's crazy to think that like on all levels everywhere, Florida State is that bad.
And then it just seems like there's no like true leadership. Once you get to the college level and up and on up, as you go up, there's got to be leadership from the players. There's got to be player leadership, and it just feels like there isn't any. And like you look at the Duke numbers offensively, and they don't look impressive. But at the same time, Duke didn't have to do anything in that game. Just don't turn the ball over and score when you had to.
Yeah, they got those quick. They got the interception early, to give them points. Florida State was kind of fighting back. They finally went to the freshman Croman. He gets it on his first pass, throws a dot to the end zone, and your receiver just drops it.
Right. But even Brock Glenn, I didn't think Brock Glenn looked that bad. Like they both made mistakes that freshmen make, and with young players that don't get a lot of in-game reps make, where bad passes, bad decisions not to get rid of the ball. But how many dimes did they throw between the two of them? Receivers were just dropping through.
Like I say, Brock Glenn, 2 turnovers. You can't do that. That's basically why they went to Croman for a little bit to see what he could do. The receivers, I was listening to somebody talking, like they were like, is this the worst receiving core Florida State has ever had in history? I mean, it's
So who do you put that on? Do you put that on Dugan's not developing? Do you put that on recruiting? Like
it's a combination. It's a combination of probably all that because
yeah.
you know you knew you were going to have some holes because Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson were leaving. Those have been your
Major.
two mainstays in your offense the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Then you even lose your like tight end flex guy and Jaheim Bell. So like those are your top 3 pass catchers. And then you think you draft. You think you recruit, you know, this 5-star Hakeem Williams. You think you hit on the portal and getting some guys from
like
Bama exactly. Those guys, for all intents and purposes, haven't hit yet. Now,
so,
you know.
So one of our favorite listeners, our boy James Dagelman, says he corrected me. I don't know if he sent it to you. He said I was wrong about Mississippi State being the worst team in the NCAA.
that resides to the team in Tallahassee. Yeah, he definitely said that to me.
And Florida State fans, this is not me. This is one of our listeners.
Well, here's the thing.
He was right though.
Well, here's the thing, you know, flipping gears real quick. Like after I really thought about it, Mississippi State 1-6, same record as Florida State. Look at obviously the teams they're playing, and sadly they've
been competitive though.
I mean, they played good against Texas. They played decent against Georgia. They played good against A&M this past week. They scored 28 against the Gators. You know, but they just, I mean, you get snake bit when you're playing. You know, that's a brand new coaching staff, new. Backup quarterback in there now. But again, Florida State might be the worst team in the country right now. And like I say, I don't know where.
It's sad to say.
They might win one game left because they're playing a FCS school in Georgia Southern later. Like I think now it's to the point where Tank City, you know, what are they like? I'm telling you guys are going to beat the hell out of them. They're going to score 50 on them easy. And it's going to be like another loss. And it's just like, this team's just continuing to go down in a spiral.
Yeah, I just think when you lose the amount of guys that they lost last season, and that was my thing going at the end of last season, when you lose 11 guys off your defense, and then you just lose key contributors and probably one of the best quarterbacks Florida State's had since Charlie Ward, and you have no one really to you know. Even though Brock Glenn got some reps last year, they still weren't meaningful reps in a sense. I take that back. They were meaningful reps because he played against Florida and he played against the ACC championship game and in the bowl game. But the 3 games he had to play, you threw him into the fire and his head was spinning and his head's still spinning in a sense where guys aren't helping him and he's getting frustrated. But when you just don't replace the quality of guys that they lost, it's big. It's not like Bama and Georgia where they could have 10 guys off of one defense, but they got 10 guys, you know, already to fill those spots. And I think that's where just Florida State kind of, and Mike's got to, he's got to recruit better. He has to get top-notch recruits, and I think that's the problem. Yeah. He's not really hitting on the high school recruits.
You got to hit on the recruits. You have to. That's the lifeblood of the program, like everybody will always say. And then now it's just kind of like it's just like the NFL. You got to hit on the draft. You know, you hit on the draft, and then you get your right mix of free agents. So that's same now. You got to hit on recruiting, and then you got to get your right mix of portal guys. You know, and if you don't do that, this is the recipe of what could happen.
Right, and then the high school guys don't look good because you're seeing decommits like every week.
Right.
I mean, I still think they're going to get a solid recruiting class, but it's not going to be a top 10, top 15.
You're talking about that. Like right now, it's like, hell, the Gator class is horrid right now. And it's been horrid since this whole summer. And it's just like, is that another reason to not bring Billy back? Because like, why? Like, yes, obviously the play on the field hasn't been great, but it's like the recruiting class, we don't even have guys like, it's like in the 50s, dude. It's like, this is kind of scary.
Because normally you don't get to, you know me with recruiting when people go all crazy and get all excited about their class early being
now it's kind of December. You better have it locked in. That's it. Like that February window, that is old. That's old news.
It doesn't matter. That's just a couple of guys just trying to get some more clout where they already know where they're going. Well, I'm talking about like the big guys, the studs.
Oh yeah, but even then, most of these kids now are graduating early to get into school early to all that. So like that whole February old school signing day period that we used to love is like that window is gone. Shoot, it is literally
a lot of recruits are on your bowl rosters now getting practice in.
Exactly, because they're graduating early,
Mhm.
and basically they're getting in December, and they're like I say,
Yeah.
you getting those practices,
That's
all that. Like I
well,
say, Florida State, Florida
they're
State's in
stuck with
shambles right
yeah,
now.
they're stuck with Mike because you're not gonna buy out 80 something $1 million. He just has to figure it out. I expect a lot of staff changes this offseason. He
Yeah,
needs to bring in a new offensive line coach. He needs to bring in a new offensive coordinator. Defensively, he's probably got to make some changes. You just have to. If you stay status quo, it's still not going to look good next year.
no, definitely not, definitely not. All right, we'll hop in. We'll get on Florida State when we talk the breakdown against the Canes this week, because that's going to be brutal. But your boys had a shootout type of game Saturday, and it was a high flying scoring affair. We knew that Miami's offense has been, I mean, number one offense in the country. Cam Ward has been ridiculous. He's been insane. He's balling, out of control. The run game, we talked about that physical run that Martinez had late in that game. I thought Braum basically threw the bag out and just said, let's let it
Dude,
go.
when you
He
say
did a good
what
job.
did we say last week? We both said
He,
that they had to empty the bag
Yeah, they
just
emptied the
because of
clip, the
keeping the
bag,
pace.
everything, and like I said, they did a pretty good job of hanging around.
Yeah,
It was going back and forth. You guys, kind of took control in that second half a little bit, but then, Louisville stayed in there and fought back to, make it a little bit of an interesting game. But like I say, Miami just did what they needed to do to get in and out
yeah,
of there. And like I say, they put up, again, big time numbers. You put 500 yards of total offense up on the board. You know,
yeah.
you get those big
Miami
runs.
history made this weekend. Cam Ward, I think, first Canes quarterback to have 7 straight 300-yard
Yeah,
games.
there you go.
Most 50-point games in the season. Restrepo's like 6 catches from
Yeah,
breaking the reception record.
he's so
He's like
good.
100, almost 200 yards from the all-time receiving yards record. So the numbers are ridiculous. I mean, I was texting you guys during the game, just like, man, can the defense make a stop? It's crazy when you watch the game, and I forgot who. Even though we agree, no more free shout outs to people we see making comments. Um, Someone made a comment saying that this Miami team could go one of two ways the rest of the year, and it reminds them of LSU, the 2019 team and last year's team, where the
Right.
2019 team, the defense made enough plays
Yeah.
to get through the season with the offense, the way the offense was going. And then
Yeah.
last year, they were putting up points and yardage, and the defense was just putrid to where they couldn't get the stops they needed. That stop to get the defense a touchdown where Barrow and Ruben Bain made the tackle at the one. The ball comes out, and Popo Aguirre gets the touchdown. Like I say, I think the defense played decent. They still gave up like 10 explosives, but the what kept Louisville in the game was scoring 3 touchdowns in a minute and 21.
Yeah.
I mean, you give up a kickoff return right after the good Restrepo catch on the pylon for a TD. You give up the kickoff return. The very next play, dependable Mark Fletcher catches a pass out the backfield. He fumbles.
Yeah.
Louisville scores, I think, on the next play or two.
Yeah, that was right there in the second half. You were up 31-17, and the next thing you know, the game's tied.
Well, so
'Cause
they scored there. They get a stop. We block. We punt the ball off. It's 4th and I think 6 or 7. What we said, Braum pull out, went to the bag. They ran a fake punt, got the ball
Yep.
down the field, and they scored again. So it's just self-inflicting wounds to where that game shouldn't have been as close as it was. Um, I think they're going to be fine. Is like it was frustrating to watch the defense, and I think that's just what we have to accept. What the defense is. I
Well,
think
the other
the
thing,
defensive
I think
line's
it's like
playing good.
kind of like the one-off game. Just that's that style of game you got into, so it just happens to
Yeah,
be that
and
way.
it was probably pressure knowing what the bye week blues have been for the Canes too. I think Louisville is still one of the better offenses. They're probably going to see the
Yeah.
rest of
Oh
the
yeah.
year until Syracuse.
Yeah.
I
Probably so.
mean, Florida State offense, the Duke offense, Wake Forest offense, and then you end with Syracuse.
Yeah.
It's they hey, at this is the point in the season where
Yeah.
you've even said you thought this was going to be the key game
Yeah.
of the schedule.
Right.
So
Exactly. If you're not
now,
undefeated going into the ACC championship game, that's a
right,
disappointment now.
right,
With
yeah,
with the teams you
100%,
got left, the teams you got left on the schedule,
100%.
you're clearly better than all these
Yep,
teams.
yep.
Now it's time to go out. you still keep your blinders on 1 week at a time, but like,
Yep.
we're better than you. We're better than you. We're better than you.
Exactly.
Beat, win, win, win.
But we need the defense to
Yeah, no, you
get
got
better. We need the
for
defense to
sure.
make stops.
This,
And
this
then
is where you need them to kind of like, in a sense, kind of like Alabama, Tennessee. Like, it's a get right game for Tennessee. Get right.
yeah,
You know, this is a weaker Alabama team. You're playing weaker opponents, not good offenses. So go get right.
yeah,
You know, do what you
100%.
got to do to,
Yeah.
shut FSU. FSU, shut them out. Don't let them score. You know.
Hey, we're 1-0 going into that week. We're into that week now.
Yeah, no, for sure. Florida State hate week. It's double Florida State hate week. I hate them too. Go
Yep.
Canes.
Let's go.
All right, well, how about my Florida Gators, baby, putting on the best performance of the season by far.
Yeah.
Still playing good offense with DJ Lagway with the dude. You want to talk about explosive pass plays? Like this kid is. It's wild when you look at the numbers. It's crazy. Go look at the numbers. He completed like 7 balls and he had 250 yards passing.
So he's leading the nation with was it 30 yards, 37 yards per
30 or 40 yard passes.
It's 37. It's 37. So here's a question I have for you: Is Graham Mertz's deep ball just that bad, or they just didn't trust him?
I think it might be both. I think it might be like, or I think it might have been Graham Mertz didn't trust himself.
Or that, yeah.
Because I think Billy called some of these shot plays and he either didn't have confidence in throwing it or he thought he was going to maybe throw a pick. Down. Exactly. Because he knows if you got a guy looking over your shoulder like a DJ Lagway, he's like, man, if I throw an incomplete pass.
But honestly, he was doing it last year too.
I know.
The Missouri game is where he took the shot plays.
Yeah, he did that in the South Carolina and the Missouri game.
Yeah.
That was it. But I guess he didn't have a guy looking over his shoulder though, last year. So it's like, I guess he just, I don't know, confidence or whatnot, because I can't think that the offense, Billy's still calling a lot of the same plays. It's not like he's like, oh,
yeah, he ain't doing anything new.
So I think the biggest thing again, ever since that bye week, whatever they did defensively, this is a different defense that played against both Miami and Texas A&M. They're playing different. They're getting after the quarterback.
They're flying.
They're shutting the run down. They're actually creating turnovers. I mean, even for some of the adverse things that happen in that game, like a kickoff return after you score a touchdown. After Lagway throws a bad interception, they run it back. They get a 4th down stop, and he throws another bomb over the top. The emergence of Jaden Ball. I think this was the first time ever you had a true freshman quarterback and a true freshman running back start at UF.
Ball looked really good.
Yeah, he was making nice cuts. He was hitting the hole.
He was getting downhill.
He hits the hole hard. He hits the hole hard. And here's the thing. Yeah, Kentucky has been much maligned. They've, had an up and down season so far. There's still Stoops is going to put together a top defense. He just is.
Exactly. The offense, terrible.
So I'm super, super impressed, super happy with us being able to move the ball, being able to run the ball. Dude, Brock Vandegrift's terrible, man.
He's like, So
I'm just like, what?
How have they missed on 2 transfer quarterbacks back to back with Leary and Vandegrift?
Yeah, no, I mean that's the part of it is you don't know what you don't know what they got because Georgia
Leary,
didn't play him.
Leary, we thought could leave at NC State, but it could have been a scheme thing. But watching him play last season, you're like, he was just missing guys left and right, and then Vandegrift just looks terrible.
Yeah, see, well, I guess that's why Kirby never played him. I mean, geez, Louise, dude. So, like I say, I was here's the what's funny is I was talking to Gator Dave. That narrative's flying around that like there's so much similar feelings of this feeling that Gator fans had last year because basically they were 5-2. They just beat South Carolina. They were going into the bye. Similar, we're 4-3. We everybody coulda, woulda, shoulda. If you would have knocked off Tennessee or 5-2, feeling like, hey, we beat a top 10 team, blah, blah, blah. We got to play Georgia. Like, does my feeling feel different? No, because Georgia's clearly better than us. And, but again, show me that you can go compete with a top 10 team again. Show me that. Like compete. Like, here's the one thing I will say. I know DJ Lagway is going to let that bitch hang. So, Badger has been unbelievable. Like, he's making these crazy catches where it's like, this guy.
The one that looked like he was incomplete on the sideline and he's just laying there.
It's like it's when you're making plays like that. I don't care how good the coverage is. If a guy's taking a shot like that, it's a 50-50 ball, and the guy makes a play on it. Next thing you know, you get a big chunk play. Now you're in, scoring range. You call up a few plays, you hit a big run, whatever. I just don't think, we'll get into Florida, Georgia next week, but I don't think that we're not there yet. So it's now you're through the whole thing of what do you do with the rest of the season? I mean, hell, if you told me this is another thing that our buddy James pointed out. You look at what we all knew, the back half of the schedule is where the meat was at, having to play Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, and LSU. And we thought Florida State. Well, Florida State's out of there, but those are 4 teams that are basically in the top 15. Well, guess what? Our 3 losses are the teams that are in the top 15 too.
Yeah.
Miami is Miami's 6, Tennessee's 7, and A&M's like 14th. So like they've beaten who they were supposed to beat. The only team that I wish they would have got the upset would have been if they could have pulled that Tennessee game out. And then, like I say, so now I don't think you're going to beat Georgia or Texas. I think you should beat Florida State. So can you steal one against Ole Miss or LSU? Who knows? They're both at home. That's far away.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to it later, but I will say I'm encouraged with at least these young guys are playing ball, and we'll see what they can do.
So with that being said, like, how do you feel about Billy? You still think he's gone?
I guess here's the thing. It's like definitely the narrative and sentiment has changed a bit because that's just what happens when you win games. But it's like still the same. Here's the thing. If it's status quo and exactly what happens is what I think is going to happen, we lose the next 4 games and we're not even in them. And, Georgia beats us by 20. Texas beats us by 20. We lose to LSU by, a field goal. And then we play LSU tough, but they beat us late. And then we beat Florida State. No. It's,
How do you feel about it at this moment? Do you still want him gone?
Here's what I will say. And I'll say, because coaching change is always, you're setting your program back no matter what. So now it comes down to, like we've been debating, who do you go get and all that stuff, the whole Lane deal. Well, here's my question. What if Florida does beat Ole Miss?
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, because, like our buddy Joe says, but actually Lane underachieves. Lane's got his best roster ever at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
We'll see how they go.
100% he does. And the way the Gators have been playing and how Ole Miss has been playing this week, looking at both, it's not as far-fetched as it was 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Where you're like
A&M. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, yeah. And I'm not sitting here saying today that they're going to beat Ole Miss, but the signs the last 2 weeks have been encouraging.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. I could tell they're actually playing for the guy. They're playing for Billy. They're playing good. It was weird how do you play so shitty week 1 against one of your biggest rivals at home? Like, they're going back to that Miami game. Offense was so bad, and it looks 10 times better. And then defensively, you were just terrible. It was just like.
But once again, you're probably playing a top 3 offense in the country, though.
Well, you're the number 1 offense in the country, but they definitely weren't ready for that. Yeah. Like, nobody saw. I mean, a lot of people felt like the Canes were going to have a good but like Cam Ward has been spectacular. He's leading a lot of the Heisman votes. So, like I say, it's just right now. I would say let me keep Billy right now. That's where I'm at right now because it's like, okay, my next guy is Lane Kiffin, and then I've gotten on the Kurt Cignetti train a little bit. So the other 2 guys that going back to this is what I was going to bring this up. The other 2 guys, I know one of them probably would never be in the mix. Cliff Kingsbury, because I think he wants to maybe get another NFL job, but I would be like, do you want to come back to college for a little bit? Yeah. And then Brom. Could you get Brom to leave Louisville?
Remember I said that.
No, I know.
I like Brom.
I'm starting to like. You got to go get offense.
Offensively, he's one of the better offensive play callers. Him and his brother, a great combo of guys, calling plays. They have, and that was the scary thing going into this game because they're going to scheme up a good offensive game plan.
Yeah.
And they're going to now, do they have the top tier guys like a lot of teams do?
Right.
No, they don't.
No.
So, but imagine them with that offense with a lot of top tier recruits or players. It could be scary, but
like we always say, what do we always say? The best thing you do is you've got a quarterback, you can win. Look at Florida State and their debacle after Jordan Travis leaves. look at where you guys have been, like mediocre type of team with, all the quarterbacks you've had. Now you get this superstar in there.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what DJ Lagway could be. Look at, you look at the teams that are good, that quarterback is huge when it comes down to basically, a guy who can engineer the offense, put points on the board and, keep you in every game. But,
but also if you fire Billy, you better have a guy. Like you better have a guy. You better have a one athletic director. I forgot who it was years ago. I heard him say that he always has a short list in his top drawer, regardless of what's going on during the season. He always has a list of guys, and it changes every year that he has just in case his coach decides to leave, go to another program or NFL or gets fired or whatever. But he's always evaluating around the country. And who will make that decision down in Gainesville?
Yeah,
will it be the president or will it be Strickland?
That's the whole other chaotic case of it is the fact that we got an interim president and nobody likes Scott Strickland either. Everybody wants him fired too. So it's like it's a mess.
But if AD comes in, he probably wants to hire his own guy because he's probably looking at, man, this guy's terrible.
I just don't know. I think
better.
Yeah, I think right now, which is a good thing. I think it's a wait and see approach. There's no reason to fire Billy right now. Yeah. There's no let him play the season out. If they win some games, get an upset or play tough, and you think you can maybe turn the corner with them next year, then we'll talk about it. But we're not in a situation where it's like we got to fire the guy now, and it's just because that doesn't do anything for you. Even if they were to lose, even if they would have lost the last two, I would have been like,
you still have to wait. You still have
to
wait.
I'd have been like, let it go, and we'll fire him at the end of the year. I can tell you one guy who's off the list now is Lincoln Riley. I don't bro, man, can I retract my statement after week one of this podcast after they beat LSU? Like, how did that team beat LSU?
Yeah. You see, I will name this guy because somebody I actually do like seeing clips of because he's a USC guy and he's not happy. Sua Craven.
I haven't seen what he said.
He's been pretty spot on most of the year, saying like what we've been saying, like they just don't run the ball and they just don't play defense. And he is not happy about how it looks, and he's been calling Lincoln out a little bit. It hasn't been like bad, but I mean that's an alum talking and a guy that's has his post games and whatnot. But you just can't lose to Minnesota, man, and Maryland. No, those are two teams you lost to Michigan in a game you probably should have won. Hell, they should have beat Penn State, Michigan, and probably Minnesota.
You don't lose to Minnesota or Maryland. They were up by 14 in the Maryland game. Like I said, those are all 4 losses. They could be undefeated.
Yeah.
That's just how
he just refuses defense.
That's how quick and easy it is to be like,
yeah.
Here's 1-4 in the Big Ten.
The funny thing you always say, like OU, welcome to the SEC. The Big Ten screaming, hey USC, you wanted out of the Pac-12. Welcome to the Big Ten.
Yeah, you created this crash. You crashed out the Pac-12 for this. For this cross-country trips to get your ass kicked by Minnesota and Maryland, dude. Not even like the big boy. Not even the. I mean, they did lose
against Michigan State.
Yeah, Lee, man, bad news. Yeah. Bad news. All right, we'll hop into the big one that was you can't call it a shocker because
it was kind of an ugly game.
It was, but I think it was eerily similar to Bama, Georgia. Like Georgia came out, and what I'm saying is score-wise, they came out and kind of dominated the game early. I mean, both teams, Carson Beck's turning the ball over. But Georgia's defense was the name of the game.
Yeah,
elite. It was literally Kirby and Glenn Schumann dialing up. That's like I said, that's another coach. I think when he finally gets a head coach job, Schumann's going to be like he's going to be like Dan Lanning. He's going to create a great defense. He's going to have the right culture. Does he hire the right OC? Like I say, I think he's going to be. Mark it down. I think Glenn Schumann is going to be a great head coach.
You've been saying that.
I've been saying. I've loved that guy. I've met him, 10 years ago when he was the linebacker coach at Bama. And he's just continued to go on.
Talking about him the last 2 seasons.
But like even watching the cinematic highlight tape, one of the Georgia defensive linemen at the end of the game was like, Schumann did his thing today, baby. It was like, basically dialed up a hell of a ball game.
Michael Williams did his thing.
Yeah. Michael Williams did his thing. The entire D line did their thing. Like
the key to this game, Sponge, was the D line, and Ewers and Manning looked like they were seeing ghosts out there. There's a clip of them on the sideline where they just look stunned.
Like I say, they couldn't block Jalon Walker. Like Walker was like
and he was going against a first round projected left tackle.
Yeah, they were talking about that Texas O-line was one of the best O-lines. Even the corners were locking down. They were just dialing up all the right blitzes. They were dialing up all the right. It was masterful.
So here's my thing. Going back to the Georgia thing last week, I still don't think the offense looks right.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Well, here's the thing: they finally got ETN going, which I think now
that helps because. Carson threw 41 times for 175 yards.
Yeah, he is
those
not,
turnovers. The turnovers that they got from Texas, his were bad, but the Quinn Ewers turnovers would have had. I think Texas had 3 or 4 fumbles and a pick, and they were just basically almost in the red zone to where Georgia didn't have to do much. To get the thing going. But offensively,
set up the short fields for sure.
Exactly, and I just feel like what I was trying to say last week. Watching Georgia the whole season up until this point, they only had 2 big games, the Bama game and the Clemson game. Mm-hmm. And halves of those games, the offense looked bad. And the second halves, the offense looked good. And then you take the other games of the teams they played against Kentucky and Mississippi State. And I was saying, like, it still doesn't look right. And I feel like even this game, they got the W. The offense still doesn't look right. But if they can navigate the rest of the year, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, like I say, they still got the big games against Tennessee and Ole Miss that are huge games. Like, and now we're wondering if Tennessee, like we've been talking about Tennessee struggling. We'll get on them in a second. Like their offense hasn't looked right since they went on that first 3 weeks. They've Nico's been wildly inconsistent. They can't, they can only run the ball. But I think this is Georgia's MO. This is what Kirby wants to do. He wants to play that, like, you ain't going to score on me. We're going to knock you around. We're going to play heavy defense.
And that's what they did.
And that's exactly.
I thought the Texas offensive line would be better. And Ewers just missed some plays. He had guys, and he just missed them. I mean, the best guy on that day was Gunnar Helm, the tight end.
Yeah, that one catch was pretty nice late in the game. But I think what's wild too was that whole sequence where the PI non-call and you reverse it and throw shit on the field. I was like, this is wild. And Kirby went slap off. They end up scoring, but guess what?
Moment and after the game, and in the presser.
That what's crazy was that showed you that was your offensive drive for Georgia, in my opinion. It was like they said, okay, they literally made it almost a 1-score game. Yeah. Like it was 23-15. So it was like 1 score. What do we got to do here to, if we go 3 and out, we're in trouble. Texas could get the ball back. They had him at a 3rd and 10. He hit that like little dig route, in route to Arian Smith for the big play to get him the first down. Then they ran that little flea flicker play with hitting Delp down the field. The next thing Etienne's in the end zone and boom, they're back up again. Yeah. It was like, okay, that was a big answer. And so, like I say, I think the biggest thing was them finally getting Etienne, the rock. Yeah. So now, and this is what I was talking to Justin, my UGA brethren, and he's been saying, he's like, for whatever reason, the Georgia offense, even go back to last year. We talked about it last year. It was like the offense just took a little while to get going. Going back to that Auburn game where it was like, man, are they really going to lose to Auburn? In that one.
But that was
game?
Also, remember Brock Bowers missed a couple games due to that ankle injury.
Definitely,
and he came back right before that Auburn game, and McConkey had missed some games too.
Yeah, and like I say, it was just so the offense then was kind of looking. It's like Georgia's offense usually hits their stride right when they want to beat the Gators' ass, and then they go on to the rest of the year. So
I don't
see if that's the case. If not,
I just think their defense is that good. Offensively, they've lost too many weapons, either to suspension, kicked off the team, injury. But the whole sequence with the PI, I thought they got the call wrong initially. I didn't think it was pass interference, but I just never seen it to where that whole sequence happens where the fans throw the stuff on the field, and then they make the call. Like, you hardly ever see a PI get overturned.
Yeah, never.
Because it could have went either. It went either way. I thought the receiver was pushing
Yeah,
off too.
you could have maybe called it, but like I say, my thing is once you call it, you call it. You don't
it's
change
not a
it.
reviewable play. It's one thing if it was a reviewable play where you're reviewing a catch or a fumble or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So I, they literally reviewed it while trash was being picked up off the field, and they said, maybe it wasn't pass interference. Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, no,
yeah.
it wasn't. On second thought, let's change it. It's
Yeah.
just like, whoa,
Yep.
whoa, buddies. But like I say, I thought, we'll see how this catapults. If they play that brand, that's why I guess going back to the Bama game was like, we were talking about like was Bama's offense this great? Like this amazing first half performance. Like Jalen Milroe looks like they got everything dialed up. They've been holding back, and then you're like, what is Georgia's defense doing? They can't they don't know what they're doing. And then you're like, they finally make some stops late in that game, to get it back to a game. But like, I guess switching gears into that is like, what is wrong with the Alabama Crimson Tide, man? What is wrong with them boys?
Well, one thing, thank God they got number 4, because if they didn't have number 4, it might be worse than what it is currently.
Is he hurt, you think?
I saw somebody mention that, and they said they had people on the inside saying he is, but they can't officially say it or something. But it's more to it than that. I don't think the defense kept them in the game this game, because it was kind of an ugly game for both teams.
No,
and offensively, it's just, I don't know if he's fixated on Bernard and Williams, because it feels like they can run the ball at times, and times he's missing, and I don't know. It's like you say, you can't put your finger on what's going on, because that first half of the Georgia game, you're like, oh boy, the rest of the year, this is going to be lights out. I don't know if you're pulling up the stats right now. How many rushing yards did he have?
It's bad. 14 carries.
Milroe.
14 carries for 11 yards.
Oof. I know they had 3. They had 4 drives, I think, where they only had 3 yards or something crazy like that.
Yeah, they had too many 3-and-outs. He had the terrible interception in the red when they got first and goal.
Bad. That was bad. You got to put that on the back pylon for Williams to go up and get.
That was terrible turnover. They didn't commit to the run really. I mean, they only had 75 total on the ground. What I mean by running too, I got to go back and watch it even more. He doesn't have those get out of the pocket scramble runs for 30, 40 yards. And I don't know.
I really didn't see any.
Is that due to him being not feeling good health wise? So now it's looking like
no one in the program will ever admit that. I don't think he will admit it.
I think when he's limited in that capacity, where he has to ultimately just be a passer, I think that takes away from his game, and he can't be as good as he wants to be.
But
I don't know.
With all that being said, the second to the last drive before the drive before the last drive where he threw the pick, was it number 1? Is it Kinlaw or some Kinlaw? I think.
Yeah.
Huh?
Just Law.
You cannot get a personal foul right there on 3rd and 7. You cannot get a personal foul because some guy from Tennessee is talking trash to you, and you turn around and you shove them in the face.
Yeah.
So now that puts it at 4th and 22. And then you have the freshman. He's a freshman. Doesn't make the key block on his corner to where I thought the play was a great play call where they dumped it to Jam Miller. Right. And if Ryan Williams makes the block, they could possibly pick up the 4th down. I'm not saying that's the reason why they lost the game. I'm just saying, like, you see too many mental lapses too with the whole Alabama thing when they're making mistakes. Even in the Carolina game, at the end of the Carolina game, they made a ton of mistakes to where it almost cost them the game.
Yeah, no, totally. And it was their defense played well enough. Nico, we talked about it, that like Heupel is dialing it up, and I think what it is he's going to let the shooters shoot. You keep on shooting, eventually something's going to hit. You look at those guys running wide open down the field. You're like, good night. Like this thing could be like 28 3 weeks. Though. It could be 28-0 right now.
It's just like the last 3 weeks, Nico's been missing deep balls.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what I mean is, what I mean is, so you got to keep shooting the 3. You got to keep throwing them up because you eventually hope something hits, and then you make one, and then you get
But at times, I feel like they sacrifice trying to get the deep ball instead of trying to get a drive going. At least say, let's flip the field or let's keep our defense on the sideline for an extra possession or two. Like, luckily, the last 2 weeks, they've played against offenses that have been average or mediocre. And the Bama offense has been average the last couple weeks. And then the Gator offense is, it's different now with DJ Pollard going away.
You're starting a true freshman on the road. His first big road test, last week.
Exactly. So I feel like, Tennessee's going to play their brand of ball, and you can't be mad at them. But there are times where I'm like, yo, man, like, just get a drive starter, get some plays, and then go for your shot. Now, before we move off of this, I'll jump on the 2-loss team thing, what I was trying to explain last week. What I was trying to explain last week was a 2-loss SEC. I get it. People are going to say they play in the SEC, the schedule is this and that. If you look at the current top 25, how many teams have 2 losses in the top 25?
Yeah, no, there's what's crazy is how everybody has a loss. There's only 2. Think about all the I know. Think about the undefeateds. There's like not that many undefeateds left. 2 of them are playing this weekend. The service academies are 2 of the other ones who are going to have to play each other. You're going to be dwindled down to where everybody's going to have a loss here way early in the year, and then you talk about the 2-loss teams.
But the point I was trying to make was there's only 2. Usually by this time, there's more than 2 in the top 25. But if you look at all the teams and you look at their schedules, you only have 7 spots. Yes, that's more. That's 3 more than last year. But even if Indiana loses to Ohio State in a couple of weeks, we just played a hypothetical. They don't play anybody else in their conference as long as they win.
If they have one loss, if here's the thing. If you want to go, we could do the 2-loss thing. If a 2-loss Bama or a 2-loss Indiana, they're going to take Bama. They're going to, just like Georgia.
Slow down. let me finish. How many losses does Indiana have currently?
They got 0.
So if they only lose to Ohio State,
if they have one loss, I will give them in. Yeah, I'll get them in there. They're in there, baby.
Sponge, hold on. Let me finish. Potentially in the Big Ten, Penn State doesn't have any losses in the Big Ten.
No, they're undefeated.
Oregon doesn't have a loss in the Big Ten.
Yep.
Ohio State only has 1.
Yep.
And Indiana doesn't have any. So there goes 4 right there. So potentially there could be 4 teams out of the Big Ten. So you're taking 3 spots right there. So now we're down to 4. Pitt, SMU don't have losses.
Yeah.
So they could potentially, even if they have 1, the ACC could potentially have 3 or 4 3 teams that either have 0 losses or 1 loss. Because if Clemson somehow wins, or if they win, they only have 1. SMU or Pitt, if they go undefeated, could potentially be left out of the ACC championship game because neither one of them, I don't think, play Clemson or Miami.
Yeah, that's crazy too.
So that's what I was trying to say. There are potentially situations where BYU plays Colorado, who they don't play in the regular season, and they play in the championship game. And Colorado beats BYU. BYU only has 1 loss. So that's why I was saying last week, potentially a 2-loss team could be left out.
I don't disagree with that.
That's week 7, week 8 hypotheticals.
These teams are all going to lose.
Well, this is week 7, week 8 hypotheticals.
I was like, damn it, UCF messed me up. UCF should have beat BYU.
But no one thought going into last season that we were going to have 5 teams, 6 teams potentially should have been in the playoff race, correct?
Yeah, last year it was this year's going to be your 1-loss conundrum.
Exactly. So now we can't act like a 2-loss team is a shoo-in.
No,
I was trying to say last week.
Well, like I said, guess what? Bud Elliott has 4 Big Ten teams in his breakdown.
I bet he does. I thought we weren't going to say his name anymore.
One of them's Indiana, baby. Indiana.
But like, and he didn't even factor in Texas A&M. What if Texas A&M runs the gauntlet?
Yeah, well, no, everybody is factoring those teams in again, and that's the thing. LSU, like we said last week, in the
LSU,
SEC,
well, they play each other this week. LSU,
that's what I'm saying. So one of them are going to have a loss. Like, so that was the big deal about the Georgia Texas game last week, was if Texas was to knock Georgia down to their 2 losses, and then they're undefeated, they hold that perch. Now you send it kind of into chaos where everybody's got that 1 loss, and now you're going to have an LSU or a Texas A&M with 1 loss.
All I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to. People were making it seem like I was sounding crazy of what I was saying last week.
I'm like, all it sit down and look at it. was Georgia and Clemson. That's what it really boiled down to. That's all I'm saying.
Well, no,
just like if a
no,
two
no, no.
like I say,
That's no. What it came down to is because I had Georgia ranked lower than Clemson, and then I
right.
was saying, and I was trying to use the 2-loss scenario situation with Georgia because we both thought they were going to lose to Texas until you flipped your mind in the middle of the week.
Or I was going to say Georgia would lose. I said Georgia could beat Texas and lose to Ole Miss or Tennessee,
100%.
but they still somehow, they somehow get to 10-2. Yeah, like I say, my biggest thing was at the end of the year. Now we'll throw out who cares where it is right now in your week 8 rankings. Was like, okay, we're in week 14, college football playoff committee. Georgia is 10-2 and Clemson's 11-2. You know, which team's going to go in? That was where I'm like, Georgia's got the better resume. They got the better schedule.
I get it. All I was saying was they potentially, of course, you take the head-to-head, but I wouldn't have been shocked if they said, well, Clemson played in their title game.
Yeah, I think now the committee, now that there's not this 4-team deal, I think they're going to be like, we're picking the best 4 teams, and it is what I believe. How they're phrasing it, because there's no the only lock-in is you have to pick the 4 winners of the conference game. That's
also,
what
if Army and Navy both beat Notre Dame and get undefeated to the end of the year? Those are quality. Right. That's a quality win. But I know we don't have more time for that because we're limited. But other things from this week quickly that I noticed was
from the past week. What do you got?
This past week, Colorado, man, we got to put Colorado in the conversation. They've looked good the last couple.
What's crazy is the fact that they don't play some of those teams like the Iowa State or the BYU's. To where I look at Colorado's schedule right now, and I think they can run the table. Like I know, I just don't. Those teams now don't look impressive. Who they would have to play.
No.
I think Cincinnati. They don't look like Cincinnati's 5-2. They beat Arizona State this past week. The Kansases of the world. They play Utah without Cam Rising now. Oklahoma State's kind of like Oklahoma State Oklahoma State will give you one of those games where you're like man, I wasn't expecting
this Friday. They should have beat BYU, but they couldn't pull it off.
And well, like I say, now the question is they don't play them till the final week of the season. So if Oklahoma State drops another one, maybe they're mentally checked out in that game.
Yeah.
And you clip them. So Colorado definitely now looks like an 8-9 win team. Which would be huge.
And if they win the Big 12, if they beat an undefeated BYU or undefeated Iowa State,
you just win. And here's the thing: they're fully capable, in my opinion. Those teams, I always tell Joe, BYU is my they're my great team, and in a sense, a lot of people call them frauds, which could very well be the case.
Just win, baby. Just win.
This week's going to be real interesting because Vegas basically only has them a 2-point favorite in the bounce house.
Yeah.
So they're favored to win, but that's a pretty tight line to where the
UCF offenses look different since Jacory's been in there.
No, totally.
And they should have probably beat Iowa State if the DB doesn't drop the ball at the 3.
They totally should have beat Iowa State. That would have clipped Iowa State's wings. But again, you're getting down to where that Big 12 is going to be kind of interesting because we all went Utah because we just felt like Kyle Whittingham's got the program, Cam Rising. That was going to be.
And this is what's funny to me. Remember when people hated on the 12-team playoffs and rivalry games don't mean anything? This game, man, this year, like I said, there's only 2-loss teams. Every game from this week on, every game's important to all the teams in the top 25.
Yeah, definitely, because it's again,
it's not like last year where you're sitting at 15 and you're like, well,
you don't have the death sentence of a lot. You get that mulligan for sure of one loss, because you're not going to have 12 undefeated teams.
Right.
And then, then now it's like, okay, that second loss could doom you, so like I say, that was what they were asked. They asked Feinbaum, is Bama doomed with their second loss? And he's like, they're basically on razor's edge. Obviously they can't lose another game. So now they got to win out and then hope, some other things happen to where they even can be in the conversation. Yeah. And so, but again, what I will say, a 2-loss Bama or a Georgia team is definitely higher up on the conversation list to basically get in over like a 1-loss Navy or a 1-loss Army.
I just don't know. We'll see. All I'm saying is,
I don't want to throw
in the
I don't want to go down
two-loss
this road.
range, yes. But on a one-loss, we'll see.
No, that's what I'm saying. So my thing is, so you would take a one-loss Army or a one-loss Navy in over a two-loss Bama or a two-loss Georgia?
I'm not saying I would.
I'm asking you. I don't care about the committee. I'm saying you.
For the 11th spot?
Who cares? 11 or 12, whatever. If the last spot, if it comes down to a two-loss Bama or a two-loss Georgia,
I probably would take
one-loss Army or one-loss
Navy. Yes, if it was Army Navy, yes.
That's what I'm saying. Army and Navy.
But if it's another Power 4 school, how can you?
Yeah, Indiana would be an interesting argument. You know, that'd be the one that
they play in the best conference in America,
right?
So how could you take a two-loss Bama over a one-loss Indiana?
Yeah, the way it's looking right now, unless Penn State loses, that'll be a great. I would probably take Indiana if they had one loss.
And not just that, they're winning convincingly.
No, for sure.
So if they win,
that's why I want to see them against. I can't wait for that Ohio State game.
Yeah, if they win convincingly every other game and they just play Ohio State tough and they somehow miss out being on the Big Ten championship game, how do you not take them?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Just say if they lost 34-27 to Ohio State, I think they're in as long as they win. They're in.
Yeah, no, like I say, they got because they're going to have to prove it because they're going to have to beat
Washington, Michigan, Ohio State, and who's their last game?
Purdue. So like they don't have to play Penn State. So like I say, what's going to be interesting is like the tiebreaker scenarios.
Even the tiebreakers, exactly. Even in the ACC and the Big Ten, what are the tiebreakers?
Yeah, I don't know because ultimately when you have so many teams now and there's no divisions, it's kind of best record and all that stuff. Penn State, if they go undefeated, if Indiana goes undefeated, like that's the wild part. If Oregon goes undefeated, then it's like, okay, how do you top? I guess it goes by probably ranking. Indiana would get squeezed,
Ultimately, I guess you want to play in the Big Ten championship in your conference championship game. But if you're guaranteed a slot in the playoff and you don't have to play in your championship game, why the hell would you even care playing in it?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was talking to Joe about. I'm like, dude,
why do you even care?
This is going to like maybe like the 10-2 Georgia argument or whatever, right? Like, let's say however the rankings go, Georgia ends up being the number 2 team at 10-2. Let's just say Texas runs the table, right? So they got their one loss, and we'll just say they beat A&M, knocked them out, and LSU loses their 2 games. So it's Georgia and Texas again. Georgia has to go play in that game, and Texas beats them. That gives them their 3rd loss. They're out. But if they would have lost, Bama would be that scenario. No. But that's what I'm saying. Like, just because you had to play in that game, it's like, damn, like we got to go play Texas.
That's why you're probably like, if you're Texas A&M and you just say you beat LSU this week, and even if you just run it and then you lose to Texas at the last, you're like, whatever. We lost 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because now
we should be in the. They would have 2 losses, but still, their 2 losses theoretically would be better than Bama's because Bama has 2 conference losses.
Right. Well, I'll use Indiana as that example. Let's just say they do get squeezed. Let's say Oregon and Penn State run the table. They're both ranked higher than them. I guess they would go maybe by rankings then. Yeah. So it would be Oregon, Penn State. So Indiana would be like, well, we got 1 loss to Ohio State. We'll sit on the sideline. You guys go enjoy. We're ranked number 5 in the country.
Even Ohio State. Even Ohio State's in with 1 loss.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So now they're just like.
So now you're seeing what I was trying to say last week.
No, I know what you were trying to say.
Squeezed.
I'm not going back on the argument. Georgia is better than Clemson.
I know, but I was talking about the 2-loss thing. It just happened to be Georgia was going to be the example I was trying to use.
Right. And here's the thing: what'll be real? Like, there's still a ton of ball, but like, what'll be interesting is who has the 1 loss, versus the 2 losses, and all that. And like, I think Indiana should beat the rest of their teams except Ohio State when you look at their schedule.
Yeah, we'll find out this week. They got game day there. Will the moment be too big?
Just don't get beat by Michigan in a couple of weeks with no quarterback. You can't do that.
Right. Yeah, no, they what I've been saying about my Canes every week this week. You worry about this week, you can't worry about the next week. This week they got to worry about UW. But yeah, I like I say, I think it's great for college football that there's all these scenarios that are still out there, and people are acting like it's going to be the same 12 teams. I really don't think it's going to be the same 12 teams.
The parity is great this year,
and it just goes off as. But the very first show, what did we? Well, outside of the big 3, when we did our overall, the thing we kept saying over and over again are team schedules. How does your schedules break for you? And that's the key.
Here's a wild one. Here's a real wild one. We talked about this team earlier in the year. Go look at Missouri's schedule, dude. We talked about Missouri. Missouri does not look good. They don't look like a top 15 team. They don't look like a top 20 team. Guess what? They're 6-1. Yep. They're playing a wounded Bama this week.
Yeah.
And then they don't play anybody. So you're talking about a potential one-loss Missouri team who could get squeezed or have to, so you're like, is this Missouri team any good? Like, I wouldn't say they're any good. I would be like, hell no.
Because they haven't played anybody.
They got the short end of the stick on having to not have to play the SEC big boys.
Yep.
And, they got their one loss. Yeah, they got their one loss to A&M by a ton. So now, obviously, they need to go beat Alabama, who's a top 25 team still. But we talked about their schedules. Like, man, if Missouri, theirs looks easy. Even like a Ole Miss.
That's why I was talking about the 2 lost teams.
Ole Miss has got Georgia. That's probably going to be their second
loss.
Well,
we said there's 5 spots taken. You might as well say if Notre Dame beats Army and Navy, they're in. If Notre Dame doesn't lose another game this year, there goes 6.
Notre Dame was we pegged them. We had Notre Dame in our top 12. So.
No, we did. But those 2 wins against Army and Navy, if they beat them, are quality wins because you beat 2 top 25 wins. Even though I still don't think they're that good. They're in the category of Missouri to me of kind of like,
Yeah.
But let's move on since we're getting short on time. Last thing, how about Cocky getting 9 sacks against OU with 9 different guys, and that's why OU doesn't have an offensive coordinator this week.
Oklahoma is so bad. They're like, damn, why did we sign up for the big? Can we go back to the Big 12? We might be able to win that thing.
Yeah.
Hey, that's going back to officiating too, man. Carolina should have had that LSU win. That should have been LSU's 1 loss, and then you're looking at a potentially 1-loss South Carolina team. Again, that's where some of that officiating stuff gets to be like, man,
officiating's been
like they kind of cost them. Like what if that PI call gets overturned and Georgia doesn't convert on that 3rd and 10, and next thing you know, Texas is taking the lead. It had that call had a lot of weight. Some of those calls.
Yeah.
But like I say, that moving on to this week, the only game we have because the Gators are on their bye week is Florida State hate week.
You notice what color I got on?
Yeah, and
let's put them in the ground.
I think
let's put them in the ground.
Ugly blowout. Can you score 60 points is the question.
I think Florida State's going to be able to score some points this week. I say some, maybe 20. Just because Miami's defense just gives up too many explosives.
I would love to know the team total on Florida State this week. It's got to be 12. It's got to be 13.
They're averaging like 16 a game. That's their points per game average. I just think Miami gives up too many explosives, and I think Florida State's still good enough to get some. But at the same time, I still think it's going to be a 45-50 to 17 or 20.
I was literally going to be like, I'm doing the same game parlay. I'm taking Miami to cover. I'm taking the over. I'm taking Miami team total over. I'm taking Florida State under.
Hey, as long as they could, that place, if I was not going out of town on Sunday, I think I would have made the drive down to South Florida.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get ugly. Everybody that makes fun of the Hard Rock experience, tune in at 7 o'clock on Saturday.
It'll be lit up. It'll be lit up for sure.
Nope. Tune in on 7 o'clock Saturday, and then we'll hear all the jokes about how nobody goes to Canes games and it's not loud in there. It's going to be pretty loud in there Saturday night, buddy.
Yeah, they don't have a team total yet. Oh, yeah. They just have the line and the over under. Because I was going to be like, if the line's 54, you guys are probably going to be team total of like 35.
Yeah. I just think as long as they handle business, keep the main thing, and don't let it get to the point to it being a rivalry game, and you do Jacoby George, don't get any more personal fouls type things and stuff like that. Just keep the main thing, and go out there and play and hang one on them.
Yeah, I don't think Cam Ward's going to be Cam Ward, man. He's been great. Like I say, going into after your first 2 games, I'm like, you guys are going to be a high flying passing outfit this year with a complementary run game is what you want to keep on beefing up. And that's, like I say, starting to come into fruition when you see
Damian Martinez run.
Let Mark Fletcher, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Going back to that,
if you can get Martinez running like he did last week in some of those late runs, where
I wonder, would you say that?
We know Florida State can't stop the run.
So I wonder if Mark Fletcher starting last week and set the tone.
Maybe a little
that
fire.
Set the tone. Yeah, a little fire to Martinez.
Yeah, because Fletcher, he's been. We said it a couple weeks ago. I think Fletcher needs to get the ball more. Yeah,
but I think Martinez had 2 of the bigger runs in the game, the touchdown, and then in the first half, the big run where the line was pulling him and shoving him down the field. He was running hard, and then even AJ Allen came in and had some good.
He had some good touch too. Like I say, I think offensively, obviously, it's the number 1 offense in the country. You guys are doing it at a high clip. If you know Cam Ward can there's nothing that's going to phase them. Like Florida State's defense is not very good, so just don't turn the ball over. Even when they do turn the ball over, that offense is so good they're able to overcome those mistakes, a la Virginia Tech and Cal. So you just don't clean all that up. Don't do that.
And he didn't turn the ball other than the Fletcher fumble. They didn't turn the ball over this week.
That's what I'm saying. So where and like I say, what scared you was Louisville's offense being able to do, like Florida State ain't nowhere near what Louisville can do on offense,
or have a good play caller like Louisville.
Yeah, so I think
I expect Florida State to drop everything out of the bad, fake punts, fake field goals, reverses, double passes. I expect all of that stuff this week.
Yeah, well, let's see. I don't think there's a chance in hell. The question is, can they even get up for the game and show spark?
They'll get initially probably talking trash. I think they'll get up for it, but once it's kicked off, that's a different story.
Yeah, like I say, we'll see. But like I say, I like the Canes big. I think you guys handle business with no problem.
Yeah,
like I say, I got 3 games on the docket that are obviously the big games. We can run through them real quick.
You go ahead.
We'll go early. We'll go early. Notre Dame Navy, baby. Does Navy have any chance of pulling the upset? Can Navy win this game, or does Notre Dame handle business?
I expect a lot of rushing yards in this game. Take the over on the team totals of running yards. I don't know. I'm curious because, like we say, Navy hadn't really played anybody outside their conference. I can't think of what their biggest win is so far.
Yeah.
But I would say take Notre Dame at the moment, but I'm teasing the number down.
Yeah.
Up. I'll give Navy 18 plus 18.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's weird because Notre Dame's obviously righted the ship, from that Northern Illinois debacle. But week 1, obviously they played Texas A&M. That was one of their big games that they played on the year. So it's like I can't get a vibe on Notre Dame. But
Leonard cannot throw.
It's weird.
They can't throw the ball.
I pulled up the Navy schedule. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Their best win would probably be Memphis. They played Bucknell, Temple, Memphis, UAB, Air Force, and Charlotte. Yee. Yeah. Give me Notre Dame, baby. Now the question is, what does Notre Dame do? Do they have – because Notre Dame, they obviously were pretty impressive in week 1, but that was a banged-up Connor Wegman type team. Then they scored almost 70 against Purdue. They beat Miami of Ohio by 21. They had that banger back-and-forth game with Louisville, who we know has a good offense. And they put a number on Stanford big time, who, that was a team that's been kind of Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, but,
and then they handled business last weekend. Everybody was trying to say that Georgia Tech game could be an upset spot.
Yeah. But just playing when you play Army, Navy, it's you have a shorter week to get ready for that triple option. And so I think Notre Dame's going to win, but I just want to see if Navy can keep it close.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking Notre Dame wins, and I think they win by 2 scores. So I think they cover the 12, but I don't know if they win by 3 touchdowns. So I like your 18, but I think Notre Dame. Now looking at it, Notre Dame handles business. They handle business.
What else you got?
I got the big game in Nashville, baby.
Sneaky game in Nashville.
Big game in Nashville.
Not too many people are going to be paying attention to this one, but this is a sneaky game.
This is a interesting spot. How does Texas respond? After being number one in the country, getting smacked in the mouth by Georgia, got to go on the road to lowly Vanderbilt. It's not the greatest atmosphere, but it'll be lit, guaranteed. I think Texas wins the game just because I think they're obviously better. But can you have a potential of another Bama performance where you kind of hang around? You may create a turnover or two. Ewers is good for turning the ball over.
Sleepy in Nashville. It's going to be
now the game gets a little tight. Who knows? I think, like I say, I can't. I'm picking Texas to win, but I don't know if they cover the 3 touchdowns.
I'm teasing this game up too and taking the Vanderbilt plus points.
Yeah, like I say, I think
Vandy's just a scrappy team. Texas they're head and heels better than Vandy. I think that's the start of the Alabama problems that we saw big time outside of the second half of the Georgia game. Texas is going to win.
Yeah. I guess what would impress you more if Texas wins by 28 or if Vandy keeps it close?
If it's 27-24 Texas, I'd be like, sheesh, Vandy.
Yeah. But what if Texas wins 42-10? Would you be surprised by that number or just
no?
Yeah. I mean, I think they're capable. It could, like I say, it's Vandy limits your possessions with the style of play that they do. So
yeah,
stylistically, you have to basically score on all your possessions. If you don't, then you're going to be in maybe a
you can't get behind. You can't turn the ball over.
When they squeeze a turnover or 2 out of you, that definitely plays into their favor. Kind of like what Bama did. They got a pick 6 and they got a late fumble. And that's why that game was tight.
Exactly.
So if Texas takes care of the ball, this is where I think Texas, you should be able to score on Vandy because you're better offensively. So then it comes down to, can you make some stops to where you basically get Vandy out of their game. And so I think Texas will do that. The big question is, can they do it by a 3-score volume after the game they just had? What is their mental state going to be in a sense? And like I say, I don't know. So like I say, it's going to be an interesting one. And like I say, don't sleep on the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Right.
And then the last one, obviously probably the biggest game of the day, the A&M Aggies hosting the LSU Bayou Bengals. Like I say, where are you at with this one? Who has been in both of these teams have been really impressive down the
really good
stretch. I think more so everybody's on the LSU train because of what they did last week.
More impressed with Texas A&M.
Yeah, so
especially I think a lot of people
love that. A lot of people love that Arkansas upset alert, and LSU beat the brakes off of Arkansas last week. But A&M,
key to this game,
they're playing good, man.
The key to this game is going to be can the A&M defense get pressure on Nussmeier against one of the probably right now the Joe Moore winning offensive line if it comes just to the passing side. They can't run the ball, but passing sets and whatnot, they protect the hell out of Nussmeier and he can make plays. Can A&M get the ball to Moose Muhammad and those guys on the outside? They got 2 good running backs. Well, 3 if you add E.J. Smith, Moss, and I can't think of the other kid's name off the top of my head. Right now, I'm leaning Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is going to win. I think LSU still has a couple lapses here and there when they play. And the games at A&M, if it was a night game in Death Valley, I probably would take LSU. But right now, I'm leaning Texas A&M.
Yeah, I like what Texas A&M has done. Obviously, they're in a good situation because nobody knew how good Marcel Reed was. So that was great when Wegman was kind of going through his little bit of injury that they had Marcel Reed to turn to. So like I say, they're in a good situation quarterback wise. Yeah, they figured some stuff out. Obviously, Mike Elko has got the defense right. The outfit's going to be operational, which is good. They know what the hell they're doing.
Offensive line's good.
So yeah, A&M's done a hell of a job. I guess LSU, their biggest question mark was, the ground game. We knew that Nussmeier was going to be able to throw the ball downfield. We knew some of these receivers were going to develop into big time, playmakers like they always have.
They got to find a way to run the ball, though.
Yeah, and like I say, they did a decent job against Arkansas. I think more so what's kind of impressed me is the turn of their defense. Their defense is looking like kind of like a little bit old vintage LSU. The white boy Whit Weeks, baby, he's looking like a honey badger out there.
But I think that's when you get like a guy like a Bo Davis back on the D line and coaches like that back in that are LSU guys and they're master motivators. And Yeah, it makes a difference when you have those coaches on your coaching
Yeah.
staff.
No, like I say, I like LSU this week. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I can see it
I mean,
going
like I
either
say,
way.
it's a 3-point line. It's like you say, if the game's in Death
Mhm.
Valley, we both like LSU.
Yep.
I like LSU just because I feel like Nussmeier's playing really good, and I just think
They've been battle
offensively,
tested as well.
they played some teams, and A&M's played some games too. Like both of these teams,
Yeah.
this has always been a good game too. It's always been like a great there's been
It
some
was
great.
that game that 70-7. The game that
I don't
pretty much changed the
I don't think we're
overtime
gonna see.
rules.
I don't think we're gonna see that, but that was a crazy game on
No, that
Thanksgiving.
was one of the games that got it to where the third
Oh yeah,
overtime changed into 2-point conversions because they just didn't want to end the game.
yeah. No, that was a classic on like Black Friday
Yeah.
several years ago. But I like I say, I think A&M both teams are in a really good spot. Obviously, both
Mhm.
undefeated. I'm just the only reason why is I just think Nussmeier. I'm giving Nussmeier the lean just because he's been playing good, throwing the ball, and
Like I
the
say,
LSU defense.
that LSU offensive line is the key to the
Oh
game.
yeah, they've
Both
protected the
offensive lines, truly, both off as an offensive lineman. Of course, I'm going to say that, but I think in this game, definitely comes
line,
down to
baby.
that.
No, yeah, like I say, that I think
Yeah,
A&M's playing good. A&M's playing a hell of a ball. They're playing great since that week 1 game.
yeah.
So
Quickly
I
go
mean, I guess
through some other games. Um, Syracuse Pitt. The reason
yeah,
why I picked the Thursday
I like
night.
that. I like a Thursday and a Friday night game. So yeah, I like
Yeah,
that one. Who you
yeah.
like? Who do you like?
That's Pitt. With Pitt trying to stay in the ACC race. I like Pitt in this game. Um, I like your boy Cade. I like the play
Yeah,
calling. Syracuse just does enough to let teams stay in it, man.
I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a
Yeah,
back and forth game. It's just I feel like the only thing that scares me with Pitt is they seem to play with fire sometimes, where they also allow the game to be close. So
true.
when you do that, it's just like you're here
Like
at
you
the
say, you're
end here.
playing with fire. Yeah,
Somebody doesn't do something here, and then somebody's got the ball last on it.
yeah.
I feel like it's going to come down to one of those last possession games. I think it might be not necessarily a shootout game, but like a shootout in a sense, not like a 50-50 game, but a shootout back and forth to who's got the ball last, who doesn't screw up, I guess is what it
Yeah.
is. But I like that game too, and I like the Friday night game. Do you like the Friday night game?
Boise
Yeah,
UNLV.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah. That game's for that spot.
yeah,
I think the winner of that game controls the destiny to that spot, along with the Army Navy, and Boise State UNLV. I think are the 4 teams, and then don't forget Liberty. Liberty's still undefeated, and they could sneak into that spot as well. But the Boise State UNLV game, the loser of this game, you might as well cancel them out because they're not going to put them in.
yeah.
So that game, Indiana, UW Indiana. What does Indiana do? We got to put Indiana on the watch the rest of the
Yeah,
year.
you're on the big stage now, buddies.
Yep.
So
What do
this is
you
what you
do?
wanted. Yeah, no,
BYU going to UCF. Ja'Cory Brown with the start going forward is what Coach Gus said. Can BYU stop that UCF running game? He didn't throw the
yeah,
ball really a lick last week, but him and Harvey had almost 300 yards rushing combined.
yeah. So
And then
they
Illinois.
should have won that game, dude.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Illinois and Oregon. I don't know why I put it on there. Illinois has just been
Yeah,
whatever. That's Joe's team, so
that's
we'll
Joe's
see.
team. I feel like this is going to be a bad spot for them this week. I
No,
mean,
I agree, but it's just
like,
something to keep an eye on.
no, definitely because you want to see,
Hmm.
how good Illinois is. They obviously beat Michigan this past week with the
Hmm.
throwbacks. Oregon beat the hell out of Purdue, like an easy game on their Friday night game, 35-0. So it's like I feel like this is just not a good spot for Oregon's or Illinois' offense to be able to keep up. So
Yeah, go quickly through my top 12. I know you don't care, but I'm
hey,
going to put it out there anyway.
let me think about your top 12.
At number one, I got
The
Oregon.
Georgia Bulldogs.
Nope. At number 1, I got Oregon. 2, I still got The Ohio State University. I couldn't penalize it. A 1-point loss to the number 1 team in the country. I still had to put them there. I got
Number one
Penn
team in the
State.
country, West Texas.
Well, currently Oregon's the number 1 team in the country, but yes, I got
Last
Penn
week
State.
you had Texas number one in your thing, right? It was Texas won last week, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, but I still like Ohio State at 2. I don't think you could argue that one.
I got you. No, I don't. I'm not.
So I got the team I do not like, but somebody has to be at 3. I got Penn State at 3. I got the Dawgs at 4. That'll make you happy. The Canes at 5. I got Texas at 7. LSU 8. Clemson 9. Iowa State at 10. BYU at 11. Boise at 12, just because we got to put somebody in. So I put them at 12. Outside looking in, I got Indiana, Army, Navy, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Pitt, Ole Miss. You could throw Bama at the end of that list too.
Yeah,
but I think Indiana's creeping in my top 12.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
So what do you have wrong with my top 12 this week?
I still got Georgia better than your Penn State team. I would have
not my Penn State team. They're your Penn State team.
I know, but
they're undefeated.
You didn't have to put them there. You didn't have to put them there. Yeah, but
they're undefeated.
How can who has the best win of the season?
Oregon, and they're undefeated. So you got to say Oregon's number one.
No, I'm not saying they shouldn't be. I'm just saying, was the Georgia win over Texas better than the Oregon win over Ohio State? I mean, it's apples and oranges.
So. I don't think so.
It's pretty close. I mean,
if Carson would have played better, I could have said yes. But
I'm saying, what I mean is,
I know what you're saying.
Which one's more impactful? It's like this is the number one team in Texas, which we thought was the most complete team, and Georgia beat them this past week.
You said that 3 weeks ago about Bama, so we could say that every week.
I'm not saying Georgia should be number one. That's not what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. I feel like Oregon beating Ohio State, where you could give Georgia the edge, they went to Texas at night and beat them. I think Oregon, we had a lot of questions about Oregon. We weren't sure about Oregon.
Yeah, no,
especially after that Boise State game.
Yeah.
And they went in and they answered a lot of questions we had. Could the defense make enough plays? Was Dylan Gabriel good enough to make? I mean, especially losing Trajan Holden.
All right. So my argument is then, like I say, we don't have time to get too deep into this. My argument then is, see, I would put Oregon 1, I'd put Georgia 2, just because those are the two most impressive wins of the year. You know, you just said Ohio, you said Penn State's undefeated.
I get it.
But you have Ohio State ahead of them, and they got one loss. So again, we're playing semantics here. So I would my top four would be Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, Penn State.
Okay, we could. The top four is the top four. We both agree on the top four.
That's what I'm saying. I would just have it in different order.
Yes, so in week 9, going into week 9.
That's what I'm saying. It's all good.
So I could have been biased and put my Canes in there. I could have put my Canes in there and said that you're number 2.
Actually, you know what? Scrap that. I'm going to go Georgia or Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, Miami, Penn State. That's my top 5.
That's cool. I rather give our guys some adversity.
I'm telling Justin and Kenna, all my Georgia, they come on and send me the Georgia hat because I need it.
You ain't wearing that.
I'll give you the death curse. I'll wear it after.
I know one house. You probably never be allowed in.
No Dawgs.
Yeah, CF ain't letting you in the house with that on.
Yeah.
Exactly. Florida State and Georgia, the 2 hats she would not let you walk in her house in.
Gee, I can only wear a Green Bay hat. The G.
Just wear your Lions hat, man.
I know.
Are you going to claim them now? They're winning. They're probably one of the best teams.
Right? They are, right?
They're better than Kansas City.
They're playing good. Yeah, dude, Mahomes has been very average, but they find ways to win.
No, they find ways to win. But the number 1 team in the NFL right now might be the Detroit Lions.
They're playing great ball. I mean, they got they can beat you in so many different ways. They're playing good defense. They're good. They're good for sure. But all right, Dawgs. So you're headed off.
Pull out that Barry Sanders jersey.
That 20.
Yep.
I don't have it. I never had one.
Okay.
I didn't. I got all my old school jerseys in there. I never had a Barry. I just had the Barry Sanders shoes, and maybe Sam left me a Barry Sanders like T-shirt or something, but never had the 20 jersey. I didn't. I had Prime. I had Primetime Cowboys. I had Emmitt Smith. I didn't even have Michael Irvin. I had a 49ers Prime. I'm a Prime guy. I love Prime. I need a Colorado Prime jersey. Now, my boy Faro's off to Finland for the 10 days of cold, sweltering, freezing, frigid temperatures. Good luck to you on your endeavors. Like I say, we'll get at it. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out next week when we can wrap on different time zones,
yes,
different
sir.
zones, and we'll holler at you. Enjoy some college football. To all the people out there who love us talking ish, we'll get into a better argument next week, maybe with Gators can beat Georgia here. We'll talk about Florida, Georgia. Canes big over the Noles. Go Noles. Psych. And we'll holler at you. Appreciate all y'all. Peace.